A, B, C. Easy as 1, 2, 3. Essential as A, B, C. And 1, 2, 3. And A, B, C. Fuck my life. Alright, hey everybody. Let's see. All right. Oh shit, I think my perms are gone. All right. Is ABC truly as easy as 1, 2, 3? Or as essential as Do Re Mi? Seems like some bullshit. Seems like some bullshit. Ugh. Cool, man. unnamed space idle game. A game of all time. Bonus to research. That might be good. Damn. That thing is going. Orange would improve compute speed. And then I could throw this on red, which would get material research. Doesn't sound all that great. Living in a material research, and you're a material research. Oh man. Pawns do not feel goodo. Glub shito. Let's go to the cool one. Boom. So much cooler. Got all these sides. All these different sides of me. There's so many looks. Okay. you guys see the restream icon? I'm so curious. No, you don't see the icon or anything. Okay, yeah, that would be a little wackadoodle. A little wackadoodly-doo. Wackily-doodamus.
Hello.
I'm just gonna stay muted for now. Probably get started in like 10 minutes. The old,
Greetings.
and by 10 minutes, I mean now. Hell yeah. Guide me through this moment, Robert Irvine, with your fitness crunch bar. Robert Irvine's fitness crunch bars. I'm not sponsored, but I'd like to be. Let's see who we got here today. It's going to be me, Fanatiq, Higher Thinking, Be Bad, and Zerk. Many of these people I don't know. Many of these people I'll be meeting for the first time. In a truly epic panel to shake foundations of reality. The very foundations of reality will be shaken. Okay, we need like 10,000 of these fucking bars now. We have a lot of powered circuitry. Need 160 for the focusers, so we have to get like back to like over 1,000 of these. Probably like several thousand of these before we start manufacturing the item again. Which I can definitely live with. This is nearly full. Let's see. Everything looks good. Constantly checking the same systems over and over again. That's how you know everything's good. That's a sure sign of success. The greatest measure of a person's success is, of course, how many memes are about them. So ask yourself, how many memes are about me? And if the answer is none, then you might be a failure. Hope this helps. Be sure to follow for more. All right, one more minute and then we'll do cameras. I'm just stalling a little bit. Feeling a bit under the weather today, but it's going to be all good.
Fanatiq, are you there?
Yo, hello. Obviously not Fanatiq here.
Oh, gotcha. Am I getting upset again?
What's up, my dude?
Not much. Just eating probably the most fire ramen I've ever made in my life.
The most fire ramen. What do we got in this ramen that makes it so fire?
So we got seaweed, we got corn,
Ooh,
we got the eggs. I didn't mess up the eggs. That's always my thing. It's like sometimes I either do it too much or too little. The eggs came out perfect. And then and instead of pork belly, I actually went the kind of like a soul food twist on it. I got smoked hog jowls as the
whoa.
pork, and I did that in a quick wine reduction and with onion powder, seasoned salt, pepper, and I got my green onion and garlic, minced garlic.
That sounds pretty goddamn delicious. Holy
It
crap.
is, not gonna lie.
Dang. That's legit. I will be right back. Define Fate. What's up? Good to see you again, buddy. This is gonna be OJ Simpson, and I think we're hitting one other OJ Simpson like topic. Let's see. I know we're definitely doing OJ Simpson. We might be doing what's that one actor who it's on the tip of my tongue. It's not James. Jonathan Majors, that's what it is. Jonathan Majors. So, just some we're probably going to have a macro discussion about African Americans in the United States and how they're treated. I know. Controversial stuff. But it's going to be quite exciting. Quite exciting. We have a bunch of new people here, so we're getting some new people going. Okay, sorry about that. Let's see. Your mic works fine. Does your camera work? Are you going to be camera on today?
That was actually my question. I was wondering, are we gonna be on camera? Because if so, I have to accept the call first so that my camera gets picked up by Discord before I open up my OBS. Because then, if OBS opens first, it'll just take over.
Okay, I understand. Let's see. Well, that's of course your choice. If you don't want to, if you want OBS to take priority, you can stream your OBS so we can at least see a picture of you. You can
Well,
do
I have my layout
Mhm.
to where I can just show my Discord screen, the Discord
Right.
call, so that Discord can take my camera and OBS will just look at that window.
Okay, I got you. No worries. It's probably going to be in the waiting or in the streaming channel, so I'll probably wait till Fnatic gets here to pull us in because I don't have perms right now.
Okay.
Let's see.
What I did not account for is my reduction. It kind of because the type of meat that I was using is kind of already salty, so it got more salty when I reduced.
Yeah, you're dealing with a lot of salt factors there, but at the end
Yeah,
of the day,
I shouldn't have added salt. That's the thing. I think it would have been perfect if I added no salt.
That's always tough. The like trusting in the ingredients and not adding any additional salt takes some gumption. I'll give you that.
Yeah, but I know for the future.
Yeah, hell yeah. What's your preferred? You said the eggs are cooked just right. Is that a little bit of yolk? You like a little bit of run, or you want it all completely yellow, hard
I
out?
like it like gelatinous, so it's not
Okay,
like liquidy, but it's also not hard.
I got you. Damn, but I'm hungry. Thanks.
Yeah, my friends went to Hooters to watch the Heat game, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be." Oh wait, I can't.
Oh man, nah, it's worth it. The ramen sounds way better than anything Hooters can offer.
Sure, but it's more about the socialization and the not having to cook it myself.
Oh, true that. Yeah, true that. Yo, what up, G? Heavy stuff today. Super heavy. It's gonna be so heavy. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be a pretty
Socializing, not socialization.
normalized discussion, I think. You're gonna be socializing, and it'll all be socialization. A little bit of both.
True.
Nah, Fanatiq said he would be here a little bit late, so
After asking us to be early.
yeah, it's how it goes. It's definitely how it goes. Sometimes, let's see, we got two other people coming. Two other people. What we got here? Higher Thinking is M87. I like that username is actually so long. Holy shit. That has to mean something. M87. Isn't M87 that track? Oh, that's a galaxy. All right. And then B-Bad, I think I saw last week. Okay. Macer 87. So without getting into it, how much, without getting too much into it, how much research did you do for the old Bartholomew J. Simpson trial?
um, I looked at one of the videos that was posted in the group chat. My whole thing is I'm coming at this more from like a moral standpoint and not like a fact standpoint, just
Hmm.
because what's done is done. So they can talk about what should have happened or what didn't happen, but I feel I have a personal feeling.
Very interesting. So instead of, so you're not really going to be focused too much on like the facts around the case. When you say like the morals, do you mean like the morals of their decisions or like their thought process? What's your
Right,
big point?
exactly. So like how that person be bad was
Hmm.
like the majority of commentary is outside of the case, and about like how he saw himself and things of that nature. That's more my wheelhouse.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Why is that? Why are morals so important to you?
Just because uh, it's I don't think it's so important to me specifically. I think it's important to everybody whether they want to admit it or not, or whether they realize it or not. And
Hmm.
I think that obviously everybody's morals are different, and I think that's where a lot of points of contention come in. So like I've had discussions with people where they're like, "Oh, I would never do this because it's immoral, and I respect myself." And I'm like, "Well, you don't know the person who you're just assuming doesn't respect themselves because their morals are different than yours."
Okay, so you're kind of coming from the standpoint of maybe people don't agree as much as they think, or don't disagree as much as they think. It's just that we're so caught up in the moral part of it that we kind of lose the plot.
Basically, yeah.
Hell yeah, that's really interesting. I like that. Now we just need 2 other people to freaking be here so we can get this party started. And do you stream a lot? Or are you like a streamer, you would call yourself?
So I'm starting to try to grow my channel and actually do it seriously and consistently now. I've been very sporadic over the course of like a decade. But I have a friend who has been doing well in his investments and decided to invest into us doing a partner stream together. So we actually
Nice.
stream on Thursdays. But since I had asked Fanatiq to come on our stream because we were reviewing one of his videos, he started talking to me, and then he was like, "Wow, I actually want you on my show." And I was like, "Well, of course I'll do that."
Nice. That's awesome.
So,
Hell yeah. Yo, Natic, you here?
I am. It looks like Brittany's running into some issues. She might completely miss the night. She was already going to be running a tiny bit late, but it looks like she might just be missing the night altogether now. Unfortunate circumstances.
It's unfortunate, but it happens.
I'm waiting on MA7. I don't know where he is. I guess I'll direct message him. He's an individual. Come on, man. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start my stream now, but I'll mute now. Let me make sure I can get my camera working first. It feels like I never can. It's always one or the other.
Camera problems or audio problems, you can never get just a good stream.
Yeah,
I feel that.
it's. Oh man. This is frustrating. What do I do to fix this? You know what? I'm not gonna have an overlay. I'm just gonna capture just the screen that we're communicating on, and then we'll do overlay stuff in post. That's what I think I'm gonna end up doing.
Hell yeah. Let's see. There we go. I like this.
good evening, by the way.
Good evening. Let me see if I gotta pull up NVIDIA broadcast.
All right, I need to figure out my stuff here. Let's figure out the old stuff. Okay. What am I trying to do right now? I'm trying to have a pop out. Perfect. Good.
It should. That's what I was actually saying about mine. Is that I needed Discord to read my camera before turning on OBS, or I wouldn't be able to switch over. We got you now.
Yep. I'm hoping when I start OBS it doesn't screw me.
It should.
Hope. Okay, inmate 7 is coming. Okay. Equal tools, stream elements, which chat.
It's just one of those days.
Game.
It's just one of those days.
Just
My life
chatting.
sucks. It's just one of
And
those
we're going
days.
live right now. Come on, just. We got it. Let's go. Oh, I had to find the pop filter. I was watching a conversation I had without my pop filter, and it's like you hear every single P, T, H. It was crazy. I was like, okay, this is terrible for audio.
You have about PTH?
Okay. Yeah, MA7 should be here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh.
You got camera?
Here we go.
Let me see how to.
What's going on? Hunter Ray. First time viewer.
All right, let me just
Perfect.
grab my sweater real quick.
All right.
It's a clean ass basement.
Yeah. Looks like a freaking studio.
Yeah, I have such a storage issue. Just when I see space like that, I'm like, I can put my things.
Makes sense.
Look at that light. That shit's crazy.
What's good, Darko? All right, Pons, it's all yours. Take it away, buddy.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Fanatiq Show. The whole goal here today is to have some forward-thinking, good discussion. Try to understand each other better. Of course, we're going to have a lot of agreements and a lot of disagreements, so we're going to try to feel things out a little bit based on where we're at. I'm going to moderate if it's necessary, but I personally think that we should all be able to handle a nice, calm discussion. If you hear someone speaking up, or if you hear someone talking too much, or if they're talking over somebody or being crazy or something, you know, the same thing you do in real life. Hey, man, chill. And other than that, just try to keep things topical. And we're going to go into this this first topic. Well, actually, first, let's go around here and do a little bit of introductions and talk about, I guess, why you're here today. We'll start with the man, Mr. Fanatiq.
I'm here because, one, I just like, I like sussing out ideas. And I live in my head a lot. And I think being able to have a conversation with other people who have different perspectives causes me to see things that I wouldn't have otherwise seen. And so I think I just like having those conversations, and I want to foster a space where actual conversations are had with mature individuals, where the information and the topics are really important as opposed to the entertainment. Although I think it should be entertaining to intellectuals to hear topics and things discussed like this, but you know, the average drone person is not going to probably appreciate this, but it's okay.
All right, very nice. We'll take it over to higher thinking is M87. And in addition to what the first question was, I have to know where this name came from, why we're referencing the M87 cluster.
It's very, very, very simple. The M87 thing. It's just my initials with like numbers, bro. It's pretty basic.
That's
I don't
awesome.
know if there's a gun affiliated to it, any type of weird. I don't know what's going on with that. I like there's an M and then there's an A, kind of looks like whatever. It's not. It's very, very shallow. Trust me. But as far as the hard thing about it, it's just it's something I just kind of like. I'm not a genius, anything like that. I'm here to learn. I'm here to have really, really thought-provoking, productive conversations. I also would like to hear alternative perspectives, because those alternative perspectives will help sharpen my mind and help me come up with better solutions for my own group. You know what I mean? Whom I'm very much so focused on in my everyday, I don't know, everyday walk. You know what I mean? Um, that's I don't know. That's more or less it. But like otherwise, you can call me M87. You can call me HT. Whichever floats your boat and all that stuff. I don't want anybody to say like the whole freaking thing. There's not a pimp named Slickback. It's very, very, very. Make it as call my name as fast as you can. I'm just I'm trying to say. Keep it very brief. Be
What
honest.
if I can? What if I can say the whole name just really, really fast?
You don't make me blush, my guy.
All right, well, my name is Joseph. You call me Just Pawns. I go by Just Pawns. My big reason for being here is I feel like the Twitch space, honestly, the online debate space, we treat people very childishly and we act very silly and like children. I like Fanatiq because I can come in here and even though we're online and even though there's a stream going on, I can talk to Fanatiq like a person. And it's as if I'm talking to a person that's in the room with me. I don't know why. Once you get online, that just changes. I don't know what the deal is. I think that discussions that don't hurt other people's feelings or ask provoking questions, I think discussions that don't do that aren't really worth having, especially not in today's day and age where there's so much information coming in. I think people, especially younger people, really need to hear serious disagreement that doesn't resolve in, an ad hoc against the other person or doesn't result in doxing the other person, just like a normal conversation. If we all treat each other like adults, we'll all act like adults is my kind of thing. Zerk?
All right. Hey guys, I'm Zerk. I don't know where to begin. I guess I'll begin with the more recent rather than like the prehistoric times. I'm one half of a streaming duo. Actually, my stream partner is not here. We stream once a week on Thursdays, so a pretty busy guy at all other times. So we were actually reviewing one of a series of Fanatiq's videos on our stream. And since Fanatiq and I have mutual friends that go way back, I hit him up on Facebook and I asked if he'd like to talk about the things that my other half was disagreeing with on our stream. And he agreed to do so. And then he checked out our VODs and was like, wait a minute, I kind of like the things you're saying. Would you want to go on my show? So I was like, well, of course, I would never say no to airtime. So, but yeah, here I am. Our format is generally kind of what you were saying about yourself, Pons, is that like we try to have the hard conversations, and I agree with what you said. Like the younger generation, especially, they're so quick to block and shut out and for lack of a better word, cancel things that they don't like hearing. So then they don't understand or learn how to deal with things later on in life that they can't just block.
Very awesome. Very awesome. Before we move on, we're going to talk obviously about some pretty intense things today. Let's get a little bit of background. Of course, in the last, I think it was 2 months, a month maybe. It hasn't been very long since O.J. Simpson died. And of course, now it's like with every actor or with every celebrity, when someone dies, all of a sudden everything was so obvious and everything was so easy to understand. And it's the reality of the O.J. Simpson thing is that there's a reason it has been a hotly debated topic for many, many years, because there are so many interesting levels and facts to this case. We'll definitely get into that. But the big questions that we want to talk about today are going to be, obviously, what are our opinions on the trial of O.J. Simpson? But also we want to talk about the treatment of O.J. Simpson and the impacts of the treatment of O.J. Simpson. We kind of want to get everything around that. So let's go one by one and kind of give our general thoughts on the topic. Say the thing that you feel like is the thing that presses on your heart. And once we've heard everybody's, we'll kind of feel out where we want to start. And let's go in reverse order this time. So Zerk, why don't you take it away?
Woo, I did not see that coming.
Pulling the bait and switch on you, keeping you on your toes.
Yeah.
I thought he was gonna start in the middle. I was like, oh, he's gonna do something strange. I know it.
Not that strange.
Okay, so sorry, can you give me the bullet points again? You said the treatment of him and you said two other?
Yeah, we're going to talk about the treatment, the impact of the treatment, and of course, just your thoughts on the general case. But really, this is just what you're interested in about the case.
Okay, cool. All right, so with my whole thing is, I know that everybody was kind of looking into every detail about the case, et cetera, just to see, everybody wants to play their own like trial whenever these things happen with celebrities, and it was no different 30 years ago. It's no different today. As far as the outcome of the case, it is what it is. That man lived the rest of his life in freedom. So that's why I did want to focus more on like the treatment and impact, like you were saying, just because I say that to say,
oh my God. They're nuking him. Oh my God.
They said his take was bad. No, I'm kidding.
I didn't even hear the take. Whether it was bad or good was yet to be determined.
He said Discord crashed.
Well, while he pulls that back up, how about does anybody want to give like a Spark Notes version of like what actually happened? Not like, your opinion, just like fact. I feel like you got this, Nanik. Right after you take the most Mondo bite of all time, but
Right. MA7, you go.
All right.
Oh, he's in.
Okay. So, what is our friend back?
Yes.
All right. Okay. You still giving me a task.
He saved you.
Okay. Jesus
Go
Christ,
ahead.
he's gone. So basically, okay, just for everybody to know, didn't know too much anything that was about this case, before his death, anything like that. But after it happened, I found a 3 hour, 40, 50-minute documentary, and I went through that about like two and a half times. So this is like what I downloaded from my very brief time in the research, right? So basically, it started out with some pretty damning character assassination. We've seen the like from what's my man name? Jonathan Majors case. Whereas it pretty much started out with him getting categorized as a woman, as a wife beater. You know what I'm saying? And from there, um, there was a lot of say what was the? I'm trying to think of everything in like sequential order. Like so yeah, they start off with just it being like a character assassination from that standpoint, and then from there the prosecution took it to steps of presenting like different very convincing um evidence regarding like blood samples and like DNA evidence and stuff like that, which he got very um impressive of Johnny Cochran and his team to navigate their way through that. I guess that's the part that really um was the controversial part. But outside of that, hey, my brother really can't stick in the party. That's really distracting. But from there, it might have been some other. I can't think of anything else that what was presented from the prosecution. But for the most part, the defense was primarily like a deliberate attack on the Los Angeles Police Department, which was pretty damn good for that time period. If I recall correctly, this happened around the case started in '95, and this was just like what 4 years separated from the Rodney King situation. So like people are still pretty hot about like the treatment of Black Americans at the hands of like police in general, but especially Los Angeles Police Department. So it was quite interesting that Johnny Cochran made the case about race. At the same time, I mean, how could you not when one of the guys that you that they pull up is I mean, literally says that he will pull over a Black man driving in the car with a white woman, and even if he does not have a reason to pull him over, he'll find a reason. So it's like it had you know that white community would I mean the police department did a better job of like vetting their constituents and the people that work there. I mean, he probably wouldn't have this well of a case. You know what I'm saying? So when they kind of took that and then made it about the police department framing um OJ Simpson. So and I mean I can't help but I admit I mean I agree that it was a pretty compelling counter argument or a pretty compelling defense. Now there the argument against the DNA and all that stuff. I want to say they more or less went the route of questioning the validity of um the DNA samplers and the people that the organization that handled the DNA. But they also found things like the people that were supposed to. I mean, there was one guy I forgot the guy's name, but he was caught lying about holding about some evidence or about an envelope he was supposed to carry. And then Johnny Cochran's team used that against them and stuff like use that against the state or use that against the um the prosecution and stuff. So but yeah, from there, what else can I remember from this case? But yeah, from there, I think that's kind of where my memory is kind of like leaves off on, unfortunately.
I got you.
And
So,
there might be something happening between, but that led to him being essentially like let off, right? It led to
right.
this, yeah.
Okay. And in your opinion, do you feel like the verdict of the trial was I don't want to say good. Do you feel like the verdict of the trial was the right thing? You feel like it was just?
Oh, Jesus, dude, it's
I know it's a
like
tough question.
yeah, it's like it's tough because you wanna. How do you just like? How do you contest evidence like DNA evidence by saying, oh, these people or this such and such person is a rookie or this person is
Hmm.
new. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Without going into like some of the like finer details or the nuances of DNA collection or I don't know pull up. I mean, especially when they say the things like the blood matching and stuff like that. Like it's like that part is really hard to come to the conclusion that this guy didn't do it despite the blood matching. If they didn't
Right.
come with some sort of a counter argument that argues against that this evidence, well, it's hard to believe that he didn't do it. But it's like I said, at the same time, the guy, you can't ignore the fact that this dude, the I forgot, I wish I remember these people names by heart, but the police officer that was the racist,
Hmm.
um that like those that attitude, like it's not because it's not just him, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? And you kind of, especially looking at the way the way the trial started with during the character assassination phase, which they did deem as admissible, you know what I'm saying, because they believe that
Sure.
this could be leading towards some sort of a motive as far as why he would have killed his wife. um like I said, I mean, she dialed 911, and then she reached to the arms of a police officer and told the man that he beat me and stuff. And like I said, some people will make the claim that, oh yeah, that police officer saw those tears in her eyes, and he promised revenge and stuff like that. So they came up with
Sure.
this whole thing to put him behind bars and stuff like that. Like people can make all type of inferences and stuff like that, but like that DNA evidence being challenged the way that it was is just it's pretty freaking sus. But at
Hmm.
the same time, it's like I get looking at the corruption in the of the looking at the corruption of the Los Angeles Police Department. I
Hmm.
mean, man, knowing that they handled the evidence and knowing that they had the opportunity and the time to perform everything that Johnny Cochran and insinuated they did. It can be I can't see it being a toss up
Right.
at least to some capacity. But just to answer your question, finally, do I think it was a fair thing? Do I think it's a fair verdict? Jeez, hold on. Why am I getting a phone call?
I ignore that. Hold on.
Okay. Do I think it was a fair verdict? Uh, man, it, I hate. It's like I feel like I'm 70. I'm 75-25. I'm 75. Agree. I'm a 75% agreement for it, but still 25% like, man, he probably freaking did it. You know what I'm saying? Just
Hmm.
mostly because that unchallenged evidence. But at the same time, it's like I said, it's just about the attitudes of the police department at the time. I know how certain type of of racist cops can get when it comes to black men dating white women and stuff like that, especially during that type of a time period.
Right.
And that's what leads me towards the 75% mark. But the only thing that's keeping me over is that again that 20 is again that DNA evidence. Sorry
Yeah.
for being so long winded.
No, that's
Zerk
okay.
back, yeah.
All right.
Right.
Let's see. Zerk, how you doing?
I am so sorry. I don't know what the heck is going on with Discord. It literally just like everything will be fine, and then the camera freezes. All
Hmm.
your cameras freeze, and I still get audio, and then I can't move Discord, and then it just shuts down. But
Did
I'm
you,
on my phone now, so this should
did
be fine.
did you try restarting your computer?
Well, not during the stream. I was trying to get back on as quickly as possible.
I see. While you're on your phone, you should probably restart your computer.
Okay, yeah, I will do that. But at least I'm here now. This seems to be stable. I just don't have cam, but
That's all
Yeah.
good.
I'm here.
Well, do you think you'll be stable enough to give your statement that you were going to give?
Oh yeah, for sure. On phone for sure. It's just I was more worried about the lack of cam, but it is what it is.
Hopefully we'll have a backup soon, but got to do what you got to do. If you want, Fanatic can go. Give you time to get your stuff set back up.
Sure.
Or I could
please.
go. Whatever.
So, my take of the O.J. Simpson trial and just the things surrounding it. There was obviously like a racial divide in the way that we perceived the case. There was like they really painted him as a very, very evil person in the media and things like that. Black people in general did not think he was guilty. I think we just have a history of being very suspicious of, obviously, the courts, because they've been one of the strongest arms used to subjugate Black people. White victimhood with
Sorry, guys.
supposed or alleged Black perpetrators. We know how those things go. Like Emmett Till is one of the most popular ones, but I mean, this is not like an old story. And so when this thing happened, and it felt like they were trying to paint this person this way, I don't think that Black people cared about OJ himself. I think what we cared about was the system. And so as the trial played out and we started to see all of the negative things that were happening within the trial, and those of us who actually paid attention to it, I didn't at the time, but I had to go back and watch it later on. You see how much corruption, how much evil, and then Mark Furman getting on the stand and his character being assassinated, being like the lead detective of the case, it just started really feeling pretty odd. Like there was just so many bad things happening. And I think afterwards, when he was found not guilty, I think there was an obvious uproar, right? Like, I mean, you could just see clear divisions. White women I remember the news, like panning through it and it just showing so many white people crying over and over and over again. Like just because of like the outcome. And I think
That's kind of funny.
yeah, it was pretty crazy. Like they literally just panned. I remember there were whole bars where they would show like a scene at a bar where there were like half people who were like Black people and half people white people. Black people immediately start cheering. White people immediately burst into tears. And so there was a clear racial divide on the case, which I don't think there should have been, but we can get into that stuff later. Afterwards, I think he's been continually demonized. I remember, so around 94, 95 maybe, BET's Comic View had came out, and every single comedian had jokes about OJ. Every single Black comedian had a joke about OJ because he was obviously one of the most popular things that had happened within like the last 3 years, right? And so it was everywhere. And one of the craziest things about it was all of them had their jokes from the perspective of OJ's innocence. And so we just had a specific narrative within the Black community of his innocence. So nowadays, when people are saying things like, "Oh, Black people were cheering for his death because he killed white people," I think that's just a misrepresentation, a misframing. Furthermore, there have been documentaries and movies and TV shows and all these things like created specifically to paint the image that OJ was guilty. And I think that was a different type of assassination that I'm not a big fan of. And I think he was punished in the next trial because he didn't live the rest of his life free. He spent he had a case, and then he did 9 years over that case, which was complete nonsense. And so I think they were obviously punishing him for what happened there. And I still to this day believe that there is no good evidence that OJ did any of those murders, but we'll get into all that stuff later. Oh, lastly, on his death, I've noticed that there has been a complete shift in people's perspectives about the innocence or guilt of OJ. And I think we've seen that, but I think him dying now and hearing some of the like leftists and progressives and other political streamers and their takes on OJ, it's offensive to me because we always claim that those are allies and that they're about progressive ideology and things like that. But when we have clear cases of obvious corruption and and I think that verdict was fair. I think when we see those things, but they can't see it because I for whatever reason, I think that it shows me that there's still a lot more room, a lot more progress to be made. And racism is here to stay for a while.
Okay.
Racism's still alive. They just be concealing it.
Yeah.
Is that not the right person to quote him? Probably not appropriate right now.
Yeah, it works.
Okay, sorry. So my computer's back on, but I'm just afraid to even start Discord and have it crash again and screw everything up again.
I would say go ahead and
So
try, and then if it does again, then yeah, just go ahead and remain permanently on your phone. That's what I would suggest.
okay, I'll get that going now. Um, and so what I was saying, I was talking about the treatment and the impact, and I guess Fanatic, you kind of touched on a bit of what I was gonna say too, is that like this is a 30-year-old case. The fact that we're sitting here today, none of us professionals, and talking about a verdict from 30 years prior, I think that has way more to do with society and the treatment or the opinion of black people in society rather than the actual case itself. Um, as you said, right? Like all the black people were like, he didn't do it, he didn't do it. All the black people were happy when he was acquitted because they're like, see, we told you he didn't do it. But as an adult now, I was what 6 years old when all of that was in the news. So I remember people talking about it. I just didn't get what was going on. Um, so I will say to that whole thing, when I would later fast forward, when I become 18, Obama was running for presidency for the first time, and I did not vote. And everybody's like, "What? You're not going to vote? How can you not vote? This is going to be, this is potentially the first black president." And I was like, "Yes, I know, and I want him to win the presidency because he's black." But I know I'm in college right now. I'm a freshman. I'm playing football. Like I'm worried about chasing girls. Like I don't know anything about politics, so I know nothing of his policies. And so if I voted for him, I would only be voting for him because he's black. And I do think a lot of people did that, and I'm not gonna fault them for it. I just didn't want to do that for myself. And so that's how I feel like that was kind of the mindset with the OJ trial. Like all the people who voted for Obama just because he was black, it was all the people saying that OJ was innocent because he was black and the woman was white. So like I get it because I was there, but would I have? I think by the same token that I didn't vote for Obama, I would have said let's analyze the facts with OJ and see if he actually did do it. And people would have thought that I was crazy then or a traitor then, just like they did with Obama. But it is what it is. I get it. I get why it's like that.
Okay, well, so man, MA7, you said that you watched a 3.5 hour documentary, and they were like saying that like basically that the reason why they dismissed the DNA evidence was because it was like handled by a rookie or things of that nature. Does that documentary, did it ever mention EDTA at all? You know what EDTA is? You're muted.
Sorry about that. No, I'm not aware of what that is.
Okay.
And I don't recall it being mentioned. I don't. I wouldn't remember if I don't have that that cognitive understanding of what it is, right?
Right. I mean, that was the number one like counter to the blood evidence.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just missed it. Yeah.
And I don't think that you missed it. I believe that documentary probably wouldn't have included it because almost everything that's done on this case is done with such an insane, dishonest bias. And it leads people to the conclusions that they are more informed about it because things are spoken from an authoritative manner. So then you think, oh, I'm becoming informed and now I know. And now because I know, I feel confident. But in reality, you know the lie that they're telling you. Because if I can briefly, EDTA is a thing that can be found in a lot of things. It can be found in detergent, it can be found in like fruit, so on and so forth. But it's extremely trace amounts. And what it does is it prevents clotting. It prevents clotting, and it's normally used as a preserving agent in blood because if blood is clotted, then it less able to be worked with. And so, whenever your blood is drawn, like in a lab, right, for like to be tested later on, like by the police and things, what they do is they put it into these vials, and there is the presence of some EDTA in parts per million in order to stop your blood from clotting so that they can test it in things later on. Well, if you have parts per million in your blood as a like living, breathing person, it would be like lethal. It's incredibly dangerous. The blood that they found from O.J. Simpson had EDTA in it. That's why the prosecution, it wasn't because, oh, a rookie did it. That had nothing to do with their argument. Their argument had everything to do with this blood has EDTA in parts per million, which would be lethal, which means that this blood couldn't have been just natural blood found from the crime scene. It had to have been planted. You add to that the fact that the blood samples that actually were able to be positively tested to the O.J. Simpson were discovered 3 weeks after the initial blood was discovered, because originally they did a search onto the blood of OJ, onto the blood in the crime scene, and none of it had a high enough DNA count to be tested. None of it. So then what they did, because it had environmental degradation, it had the sun beating on it can do it, bacteria can cause it, so on and so forth. So all of these things cause it to be like severely compromised such that it could not be tested. None of it. And then 3 weeks later, Detective Fong goes back to the crime scene, finds new blood samples, and all of the samples he finds 3 weeks later all have high enough DNA to be tested, and none of them have environmental degradation. So then that means now they're able to test and positively identify that blood with OJ. Do you understand going an additional 3 weeks still out there in the elements, and then now this blood having significantly less degradation, significantly more DNA, and the presence of EDTA would lead you to believe that this blood must have been planted? You understand like that logic?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, you spelled it. You painted a perfect picture there. I completely understand now.
And that's exactly what the prosecution did. But then when you watch the documentary says, they just gave up Fugazi shoddy arguments about you. And that's just not the way it worked. That's not what happened. So then that's what I feel like is just so dishonest about it. Like, I feel like the media has been on a page for over 3 decades now, or for 3 decades now, to smear the case, to make it seem like it was only racial. And I just don't think that that's accurate. I think that's unfair.
Yeah, I definitely will. You know, that's one of the first things I thought of, especially when the DNA evidence started coming to the case. I'm like, oh man, this is one of my blind spots. You know what I'm saying? I don't know anything about like DNA evidence, how it's collected, how it's processed, like none of this stuff. And I imagine that a lot of the jury were in the same predicament. You know what I mean? And then at the end of the case, and this was an important part. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the case, when both lawyer teams were presenting like their last plea, their last uh, um, um, case, their last like speech towards the jury, they the lawyer like literally said, I forgot her name, the white woman. She said that, hey, this evidence has been unchallenged. She listed all the evidence that was unchallenged throughout the whole proceeding, the whole trial, and she named that DNA as being unchallenged. So I guess in my little, my tiny little my little brain that has no understanding of DNA evidence and stuff like that, I didn't really get it. You know, I mean, it's like it is. You said it probably didn't. The documentary probably didn't add that counter argument to the to its presentation, but it's entirely plausible. And then the fact that she ended that case, she ended her the prosecution with that narrative that this argument or this evidence has went unchecked. So a lot of people fell for the Kool-Aid. You know what I'm saying? But even despite that, they still found my guy to be they found O.J. Simpson to be not guilty.
Not guilty. So that exactly is my point. I don't believe that the average person. I don't believe that. I'm sorry. The jurors did not find that to be true. They knew that it had been challenged, and they had no faith whatsoever in the idea that stuff had been planted. I mean, there were literal photographs of the crime scene, of the blood samples that had been collected. They all have to be labeled. And so when you're saying, okay, number 1, number 2, number 4, all the way up to like number 15, none of these things can be tested. You tried to test all 15 of them, and they had too low DNA counts and too much environmental degradation. So then none of those were able to give you any results. Now you go back 3 weeks later, and now we get 16, 17, 18, 19, all the way up to like 23. And all of those are so much more crystal clear. But then the craziest thing about it is now we have...
Hey, buddy. Hey, brother. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Hey, big congratulations, okay? Without going into detail because I'm online. Love you very much. Big congratulations to you. Couldn't be happier.
And they're holding the pictures up to Detective Fong and asking him, where is this? And he said it doesn't appear to be in the photo. We have different angles, and you can't find it. So then that means it had to have been planted, unless you can come up with another idea of why this blood ended up showing up later. Then to add to that again, the EDTA thing, that was also another problem. Then you add to that the idea that
Did
the
you
blood,
sweat?
like they drew enough blood, and then when this is, let me ask you this: did the documentary mention that upon drawing Simpson's blood, that they immediately headed to the crime scene with the blood that they had
Oh, come
drawn
on now. Of
and
course
stood there for 3 hours?
not. No, that was not a thing. They did not do
Okay,
that.
this is what I'm saying. But then, of course, again, if all of the information about this thing, because obviously to any sane person, you just take it upstairs to the lab and it's gone. I mean, it's good. But you take the blood immediately and head immediately to the crime scene with the blood, with the lead detective there, and now when you turn the blood in, the amount reported as for how much had been drawn, and then we see the toxicology lab, they report how much. That's the first thing they're supposed to do. They get the blood and they say exactly how much blood it is and so on and so forth, and then they say, oh yeah, there's about 1.5 cc's missing. What happened to the 1.5 cc's? And then you wonder how you get a drop of blood on the door handle, a drop of blood within the Bronco, a drop of blood on a sock, a drop of blood on a glove, etc., etc., etc. And you have the presence of the EDTA, and you have so it's like all of these things combined, you start to realize, wait a minute, this seems like some sort of nonsense. Like I don't understand how. I can't trust the blood. That's what it boils down to. If you know that the blood samples were only discovered 3 weeks later, and that those ones had the whatever, and you know that they weren't there in the previous photographs, and you know that they left with left to the crime scene with the blood, and you know that the blood was missing by the time it was actually deposited in a toxicology 3 hours later. If all of those things are true, I think that gives you a reason to say, I don't trust the blood. I think that's cause for some reasonable doubt. And I don't want this whole thing to be about the relitigation of the trial. But I'm saying, they would never mention that inside of the thing. They don't mention that in the People versus O.J. Simpson. They don't mention that in the media and all of the recreations. They don't, because at this point, it just basically puts a hole in the entire thing. And they were clearly planting evidence trying to frame this person. Now, maybe he was a guilty person. Maybe it's true. But that doesn't change the fact that you falsified information and planted evidence. That's all the last I'll say about that.
Yeah, full agreement, man. I mean, what else can you say? What there's nothing really add to that.
What do you think about all that, Zerk? Because I know you're kind of on the side of more leaning towards guilty. So what do you think when you hear stuff like this?
Well, I'm not saying I'm leaning towards guilty. What I'm saying is that, what I'm saying is, he could be guilty. Okay, how do I want to say this? I thought about it earlier, but then all the technical difficulties started happening, and
It's all good.
yeah. Basically, what I'm saying is, two wrongs don't make a right. But if we can find consistency, then at least we can know the rules that we're playing by. And what I mean by that is that even if he's guilty, he was exonerated. Like he was acquitted. He is, by all intents and purposes, for our justice system, an innocent man. You know who else was, acquitted, and who was not found guilty? The woman who got Emmett Till killed. She's still alive. And
She wasn't
nobody's
acquitted.
harassing, or she didn't go to jail.
She never went to court. The prosecution refused to even try it.
Right, exactly. So if she's out here and
She's
she's
dead
able
now,
to
by
live
the
her
way. But
life,
go ahead.
and well, I guess she recently died, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, but she was able to live to a ripe old age, and nobody was talking about her. These people weren't spinning her a certain way in the media for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. I mean, obviously, if it came up among Black people, but her life was largely by this whole thing. So that's a 1-for-1. Again, two wrongs don't make a right. But if she's gonna be good, he gets to be good. And if he's gonna get convicted, then she should have been tried and convicted. So at least the consistency is there. That's my whole spin on it. Like, there's a lot of people who we may agree or feel are totally guilty that are free people. So, and they're non-Black people. So the same rule should apply to the black people. So I'm glad OJ was free.
But I don't think it's a fair 1-to-1 because Carolyn Bryant actually lied on Emmett Till, which is why he ended up being, murdered and all of that. Whereas O.J. Simpson, I don't think that there's any evidence that he actually is guilty. So then I don't feel like it's a fair 1-to-1. I feel like what ended up happening, and by the way, like it's not like that O.J. Simpson just got to live the rest of his life. O.J. Simpson was erroneously given 33 years for a supposed robbery in which he was getting back property of a memorabilia that belonged to him. Like that ended up happening, and he ended up doing 9 years in prison. Not to mention the fact that he was found civilly liable for this thing for which there is no sound evidence. So it's like I mean, it seems really hard to compare him to Carolyn Bryant, who they knew where she lived. People ended up finding where she lived, and then they notified the authorities, and the authorities just refused to prosecute her and just let her live out the rest of her days in peace, knowing what she did to that young boy. I don't think it's 1-to-1 at all.
You're right. That's not a 1-to-1, but you know, even more so than I feel like that makes the point that I was making is that like even if he was guilty, he went free for that crime. Now later on, the robbery thing was obviously ridiculous, and it was probably get back, like you said. But in that moment, and for those years after the murder trial, it almost felt like finally one of us beat it. And that's kind of what I was getting at. Like if you watch the movie, I think it's called Glory. No, not Glory, with Michael B. Jordan. Justice. Hold on.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Hold on. Just Mercy is what it's called. If you watch Just Mercy, like Michael B. Jordan plays this lawyer who he just passed the bar. He moves to like the South to try to help black inmates that are on death row for crimes that they didn't commit. And I actually shed a tear. I was watching that movie on an airplane, and I'm like sitting in my airplane seat, like tears streaking down my face because it was like how real it was that these dudes, most of them literally did nothing, and they were sentenced to death. And like one of the guys he tried to help, he went to the execution, and he watched them give this guy the chair, and you know the fear in that guy's eyes, especially knowing that he was innocent. Like so many people like that went that were innocent. It's like finally OJ didn't go. Like that's a small victory. So that's why I was saying even if he was guilty, which again, what's done is done. It's been decided. So that's why I feel like the argument still 30 years later on wasn't he isn't the point. I think the point is that it was great that finally, after all these people who were killed for nothing, somebody actually got to go home.
See, I don't like that. I feel like, and that's something that a lot of people are crying about on Twitter and on stuff where they say, "Oh, black people felt like this was payback, right?" For the Rodney King things, Rodney King, and there was a specific juror, and you'll always hear people refer to that one juror who, like, several years later, almost a decade later, says, like, "Yeah, I wanted to get back for Rodney King." They'll ignore the other jurors who all said point blank, "I thought that I was going to be the only one." One of the jurors said, "I thought I would be the only person to say not guilty. I thought it was going to be 11-1 and that I would be the only person to say not guilty." And then, of course, then it ends up, they do like a preliminary vote and it's 10-2 from the very beginning. And so then I say, okay, so now we got to work through this trial. So I think the idea that, I don't think he got away with one. And I think it would be pretty heinous. If it was the idea that he did murder those two people, I think it would be pretty gross to just be like, well, white folks have gotten away with enough. Let this man go free. I that wouldn't be just to Nicole Simpson and Ron Goldman.
Right, and I said two wrongs don't make a right.
Bro, his roof is messing with my brain, okay?
Get off with bullshit. Like, let everybody be able to get off with bullshit. So at least we know the game that we're all playing the same game. I just want us to be playing the same game.
Sure, I would like more equity and equality within the system. That being said, I don't think OJ would be a good case for it because considering I don't think there's any good evidence that he did it. Um, yeah.
What do y'all think of like the people, especially like and folks in like the online spaces, essentially criticizing the community for being celebratory towards, I guess how should I put this? Um, I really don't want to go into an example because I don't want to drop any names. I'm just say it like this. There's been some names, you know what I'm saying? There's been some political figures on the online space especially YouTube that's been quite antagonistic against black people, especially for not coming to terms that OJ actually killed those people. You know what I'm saying? To the point they actually, like, again, because they're actually been criticizing black Americans for doing this. Like, do you guys have any like sort of like thoughts regarding like those types of people? I mean, because I'm not talking about like people that kind of just started like a couple years ago. I'm talking about some names that's been around for like 10 plus years and stuff. Um, Calling the question like, why is everybody still like celebrating OJ Simpson like he was some sort of a hero when, I mean, if it wasn't for the case itself, we hear a lot of things about, you know, the attack of when as soon as he got some money, he became one of those Negroes um that that disowned his blackness and stuff like that because he got some money, and he surrounded himself with white people and stuff like that, and then it had to take until he went to jail. It took until him going. It took him going to jail for him to reconnect with his blackness and stuff like that, which is kind of like, not really too much. I'm not really for it for the most part, for the simple fact that I'm saying, I listened to Dave Chappelle speak about his times of running into OJ Simpson.
The first time I met OJ Simpson.
Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about, and it was dope. It was a good time for him, he said. But again, you're hearing some people who've been around for a very long time say that, hey, this guy wasn't a good dude. You know what I'm saying? So why is black people celebrating this guy? Just general thoughts regarding
that. Sure. I as someone who has very little chips in this game, I think that something that the more I look into the OJ thing, something that increasingly becomes clear, something that increasingly becomes obvious, is that this entire thing is really based off, it's like a litmus test for like your feelings on the matter. There is no concrete evidence. Every single bit of evidence about OJ, and I'm not saying this means he's innocent, I'm just speaking facts here. Every single bit of OJ's evidence, all of it's circumstantial. It is very hard to convict anybody on this planet of anything with only circumstantial evidence, because the whole point of circumstantial evidence is that there could be one circumstance that it fits, there could be another circumstance that it fits. And when we're talking about things like murder, we're talking about beyond the reasonable doubt. I think that people hear what's going on, and like everybody, we all do this, there's nothing wrong with it. You just have to acknowledge it. We immediately want to pick an answer. It kind of sounds like he might be guilty. It kind of sounds like he might not be guilty. And then from there, we kind of work our way back, look at the evidence, and that's kind of how we come to our conclusions. We start with the end, and we work our way back. And I think when people talk about OJ, especially people who talk about I can't believe you defend him, or I can't believe you celebrate him, or I can't believe you do any of the reality is like, it's not about the icon OJ Simpson. It's not about any of that. The fact is, we have this case here that is only circumstantial evidence. Only circumstantial. Casey Anthony's evidence was only circumstantial. And you have all these people who are so incredibly confident and want to tell you with every fiber in their being that they know what happened and that you're an idiot for thinking otherwise. And I think those people are idiots. I don't think there's anything more ridiculous than taking something that is very clearly not simple and telling people over and over again, it's so simple, and you're treating it like it's not simple, and you're an idiot for doing that. No, it's not simple. There's nothing simple about the OJ Simpson stuff. Oh, the only simple thing is that he was acquitted. That's the most simple thing of it all. So that's kind of my thoughts on the matter. I think people virtue signal super, super hard because they know that most people feel on average like he's guilty. And I think that's pretty stupid, especially when we're supposed to be living in this kind of idea in America that like you're kind of innocent until you're proven guilty. But everybody forgets that when it comes to their feelings.
I just know one thing before M87. You can go ahead, but I just know one thing. The glove didn't fit.
All right. Very funny. The only thing I would say to that, what you just said, was it okay? Was it prod?
Pawns.
Prawns?
Pawns, like
P-O-N-S.
P-O-N-S, yeah,
All right,
pawns.
P-O-N-S. Thank you. The only thing I would say that is, bro, is these were black people speaking to a black audience, and for the most part, the black audience is, like I said, very much so pro him being free, him not not reaching a guilty verdict. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I understand what you're saying. Is just that for these people, pertaining specifically to these people, there's like unless maybe I can't say that. Maybe it is unfair to say, because it's not that these were black people. I don't know for certain they're talking specifically to black people, but they're more so left adjacent types that you would think would be speaking to a black audience. But if you're gonna make the case that, hey, non-blacks is gonna be is more so in agreement that he should have went to jail. But like, since these black people are speaking to a leftist space instead of a black space, that it makes sense that these that they're virtue signaling to their audience, like, or essentially grifting to their audience.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
I guess I was under the impression that these are like predominantly black spaces, but hey, if this space, if these spaces believe that he was wrongly accused, then okay, I guess I can see where you coming from with that, but I don't know.
I'll clarify real quick. There's nothing wrong with having a strong opinion on the matter. I have nothing. The problem is when people act as though their opinion is fact, and they act like there's no discussion to be had. When you're online, when you're speaking to an audience, it's very dangerous work to be playing with, to treat things like they're very stupid and obvious, especially when most people watching are, frankly, kids. Like, they don't. Things like gaslighting is very, very effective to people. And when you say, oh, come on, you really think he's innocent? Are you serious? You actually, like, why can't we just say, I personally feel like he's innocent. I looked at the evidence for myself. I made up my mind. But I do have to acknowledge that he was acquitted by a jury of his peers, and we do have to kind of, move forward. Like, nobody can show the humility as well. It has to be like, I know exactly what happened. I have that, that based and fresh take on it, I guess.
So here, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's hard to say. It's hard as Fanatiq just kind of pointed out, bro. Like, a lot of this, like the strongest evidence was kind of like torn apart in trial. You know what I mean? To the point that it didn't even that blood evidence, even when represented at the end of the trial, did not convince a guilty, or did not convince the jury to invoke a guilty verdict. Like, they kind of they heard it. In trial, they saw it being dismantled by Johnny Cochran and his team, and for the most part, it's just we can say it was circumstantial evidence, but for the most part, this is, as Fanatiq said, like, it wasn't good. It wasn't a good sampling anymore at the time of during the timing of which they tested the evidence, or the DNA. You know what I mean? Right. So it's like, I can't see it being a thing. I can't see it a guilty verdict being I can't see how somebody could come to the conclusion of a guilty verdict based on, virtually no evidence. You know what I mean? Because the only evidence I saw they really had was was completely dismantled. You know what I mean? So that's
think about it. You see this person, they have this trial, they get acquitted, and there's all this news about how it was a bad trial. And then a few years later, they're getting an 8-year or 9-year slap on the wrist, or 30 years, whatever Fanatiq said, for something completely unrelated, which is very clearly like some form of like, hey, let's get this person. Like, the question shouldn't be, did OJ do it? As much as it hurts, and as much as it hurts our feelings, we have to do away with that question. The question is, can you prove that OJ did it beyond the shadow of a doubt? And if you can't, then it truly doesn't matter. You get to walk free in this country.
Yeah, I agree with that. And not only do I agree with that, but oh my God, I keep losing my train of thought. Not only do I agree with the fact that yeah, if you can't prove it, I wanted to ask the question while I was hearing M87 talk, and even Fanatic. It's like, what is even what are we accomplish? What is our goal? What are we trying to accomplish now by discussing whether he did it or didn't? Like, are we trying to discuss that people were racist who said that he did it? Are we trying to discuss that? Like, what is the outcome of this conversation going to do for the future, or what do you think it should do, or what do you think it says about the present that we can try to work on or point out?
Can I
That's a
take this
really good question.
real
Sure.
briefly? Okay. In my opinion, all right. So in this, and I'm pretty sure Fanatic's gonna have a very different answer. And Pons, I got to say your name
You
as
got
often
it,
as
yeah.
possible to get it down, to download it. Um, I, I'm gonna, and this is not a one for one, so don't give me, just bear with me here. But on my platform, I've been covering this one particular mayor. All right, she's from like a neighboring town. I don't know, 10 minutes out or whatever like that. And this mayor has been so problematic in the way she's been running her township of only about 20,000 people that she um essentially, how do I put this? She's on the news. She's on every news source you can think of: Fox, NBC, CBS, well, you name it. Every almost like a gang of YouTubers have been covering her over and over and over and over and over again. I put one video out about her, and it's always my best video of the week and stuff like that. And what I infer from that from this very insignificant town with a populace of 20,000 people and a median whom has about a median income about 24,000 people is this is the example that everybody needs to be paying attention to, that's gonna how do I put this? It will inspire people that will inspire people to pay more attention to the things that's going on in their own towns. All right. So with this case, right? So this is how the comparison works. In this OJ Simpson case, it's high profile as a mug, and it's on TV. It's talked about like with amongst a ton of people, and people um can see how a court processing works. They learn about how what I'm trying to say. It's essentially can be used as like a gateway to understand like how the justice system works, and it can inspire them to actually start paying attention to other trials and stuff like that. And then similarly to the mayor situation, and people getting more involved into like into the happiness of their townships and going to the town hall meetings and getting more involved in their local politics and stuff like that. People will probably start becoming more privy, more educated regarding trial processes and the way law works and stuff like that. So it can essentially uplift the those who have been let's say distracted with other things, and so that they can learn some more about something that actually truly matters by way of something like the OJ Simpson case being as high profile as it is. And it's high profile because it's entertaining, you know what I'm saying? But
But if they
sometimes entertaining can be okay because it can be used as a way of educating people.
but if
Does
they
that
don't
make sense?
become
Actually, no. The book was called If I Did It, and due to a lawsuit, he was actually forced to make the word if as small as possible. And the book looks like it says I did it. The book is not about whether or not he actually killed anybody. No, the book is about a bunch of different stuff. It's kind of been misrepresented a lot. Not saying he's innocent, just giving you the facts.
because OJ, like you're supposed to, and they ask you. I don't know if you've actually like gone through the process of serving on jury duty, but I recently, like 2 months ago, I got called in and they do a screening and it takes like 2 hours and they ask you all these questions on like, can you be impartial? Can you stick to just the facts? Can you, be unbiased? Can you just make your decision informed on what you hear in the trial and the evidence presented? So if they feel like you're lying when you say yes, or if you say no, they actually won't even put you on the in the juror stand. So if you're sitting there, you're going through all the things saying, yes, I can be impartial. Yes, I'm only going to listen to the facts.
I just realized your name is Crazy for Coke. That's fucking awesome. I don't do coke. Don't do drugs.
Well, there's, just to answer the first question that you asked, like what do we gain out of having these types of conversations? One, I think again it is a trend. It's not just this individual case, but frequently we'll find the images of black men tarnished within the media, regardless of whether or not they were guilty of something or not. Michael Jackson.
Marijuana is one thing, but coke is very dangerous in the United States. Do not do it if you're an adult, child, anybody. Just avoid it entirely.
Everything they could to try to prove a positive, and were never able to do so. And so I would say,
More of a root beer kind of guy.
right, that's like present within a lot of these people in political discourse becomes evident when we see this. And so I think the purpose of having these conversations is to actually discuss some of the details so that we can get it clear. I think I would like people to be able to walk away from these types of conversations. I was hoping everyone would be a lot more informed about the case and we get into the specifics. We probably needed at least one person who was very strongly opinionated to the contrary. But what you would want is for us to be able to have these conversations so people become informed about the actual evidence of the trial. So then at that point, then they can come away and say, okay, so there was no evidence to suggest that he was guilty. And upon learning that, then you see the mechanisms at play that have been used to demonize this man's character. One, you see all of the movies and documentaries and shows and all of those things that have clearly detailed that LJ is guilty, or at least have presented things in such a slant that it makes everyone feel like he's guilty. We look at the polls and the data and show that 20 years later that there was a complete shift, an uptick in 30% for white people in their assessment of his guilt, and 30% for black people in his assessment of his guilt. What happened during that 20-year period to create such a shift? Obviously, the shift would be the media and the court of public opinion. Thirdly, you do want people to start actually developing the tools necessary to start analyzing things within the court of public opinion, because I am of the belief that the court of public opinion does actually influence the court, the actual the criminal justice system. I know that it shouldn't happen. I know that it's not supposed to, but you and I, we all know that it does. There's a reason why people are more likely to be found guilty. Black men are more likely to be found guilty when all of the entire jury is white. We know this. These kinds of things happen. So we do need people to become informed. Furthermore, this won't be the last attack on a black person on their career. There's going to be another person who's going to be character assassinated, Bill Cosby. So then at that point, what are we?
And I'll be there to defend them.
Honest with themselves. I need people to start checking their own bias and being able to say to themselves, wait a minute, I felt very strongly about this situation. I was very, very wrong. And what led me to come to such an erroneous conclusion? The only way you come to that knowledge is if you actually do the analysis yourself and realize you're wrong. Learning that you're wrong teaches you how to avoid that mistake in the future. That's the purpose of these conversations.
Okay, well said. And I did have that question legitimately. That's why I asked it. But the thing that I lost my train of thought on when I lost my train, I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget this time, is that had he been found guilty, he probably would have been sentenced to death, or at least 2 life sentences for 2 lives. Right?
Yeah, California doesn't do the death. Oh, wait, we do the death penalty. Never mind. I don't know that he would have been sentenced to death. I'm not sure though. Go ahead.
Did he just say doo-doo?
For 33 years and he served 9. Like, they still failed because they wanted this black man gone forever, and he was not gone.
Poopty farts in the chat.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to call it a victory though, man, because it's like, yo, you took 9 years of my life. 9 years of my life is
But they were going to take his whole life.
Sure, but I don't consider it a victory. It's like, oh, well, I was going to say something awful. I'm not going to use that analogy. Let me just keep it whatever. Look, it's not a victory. Less evil doesn't stop it from being evil. It's hard for me to call it. It just means less of a defeat, not a victory, in my opinion. Because, bro, you got destroyed. 9 years of your life taken. It's gross, especially considering there were like 5 other people involved in that situation, and 4 of the other people got probation. One person was sentenced to 15 years because he stood by OJ and refused to like work with the DA. So because of that, they gave that man 15 years. Later on, it was overturned, but it's just the idea. Everyone gets probation. The guy who kicked the door in, that guy, he got probation. The guy who, what do you call it, varnished the weapon? Or what's the word? I can't think of it right now. Brandished a weapon? Brandished. There we go. The guy who brandished a weapon, probation. The guy who physically punched the dude, probation. O.J. Simpson, 33 years for making the statement, don't let nobody leave until we get to the
I don't
bottom.
think he's
of
saying
this.
it's all racism. I think he's just saying that that's the.
They still did him dirty.
Yeah.
So
the reason
it's
that
hard for me to ever come to the conclusion that there was
dirtying
any
is
kind of
being
victory
done.
here. Then when it came to
Well, I'm saying until that happened, what would you have said until that happened?
until that happened, I would have felt like pretty
I'm not
bad
sure.
still, because in the civil trial, then once again they got him, and in that civil trial he was found guilty because it has less
Like,
of a burden.
there was a
of proof,
dude
I'm
and
saying before the
who
robbery
investigated
trial was even
OJ,
a
who
thing.
was literally
Like,
Yeah,
the
I'm
murder
saying-
fired
yeah,
for being racist.
there was a. I'm sorry, maybe you're not informed. There was a murder trial, and then immediately following the murder trial, there was a civil trial for the same thing. You can't be tried in the same. You can't be tried criminally for the same thing. That would be double jeopardy. But criminal and civil trials are very different. And so he got found guilty of wrongful death in civil trial, and then ended up owing, I believe it was $30 million to the Goldman family. Might have been 10 or 30. I'm not sure.
I think he's talking about the
Today he's paid
investigators, which
$123,000 of that money. They ain't getting the red.
that's what I'm
cent. But
saying. The
fact
facts of the case are quite
that he shouldn't
important.
have been
If
found
you don't know the
guilty of
facts of the
that
case,
either.
it definitely I
don't think
can
there was any
understand
evidence, there
you
was any good
thinking
evidence,
that.
rather, to suggest that he was guilty. And
But
so I think the idea
he's referring
that,
to something
you know,
specific. He's not making a
they even
general.
got him with that.
Like, oh,
was
they, the
disgusting,
big they.
which is why he had to
He's
have
talking
all these
about the
LLCs
investigation.
and children's name and all these like hidden LLCs, which they call like a little security web. He had to do that in order to be able to secure things. When it came to his home,
I think I speak on his behalf when I say, no.
$823,500, and with that money, he was able to actually pay for his home in Brentwood in order to secure his home still. Like otherwise, his finances were going to be completely dumped. Fortunately, you can't get people's pensions, and so he had pension from the NFL, so that's what he's been able to live on. And I think it comes up to around $250,000 a year. So he's okay. Or maybe it's $500,000 a year. It's one of the two. But the fact of the matter is,
either one's good.
right, he's fine. But the fact of the matter is, like, he could have made so much more money than that. He was obviously like going to, and that all got taken.
Yeah,
from
but
him
that's
because,
factually true. Crazy for Coke. Racism was
media
quite
and
literally
everybody else was
involved with the
insisting on,
investigation. A
holding
cop
this
was
man
fired
accountable
for it.
something that I genuinely don't believe there's any evidence to suggest
So-
that he did.
I don't
Because
understand.
Oh, and one last thing, I'm sorry. And DePon's the statement that you were making earlier. I do think you're right that it is really hard to come to like a concrete conclusion for one side, because to come to a concrete conclusion for one side, which would be the side that he's guilty, you would need to be able to have some concrete evidence, and it is all circumstantial. I would say for the other position, to be able to say that I don't think that there's any
Not
good
arguing,
evidence,
just clarifying.
I can't feel as concrete, right? Because I'd be proving a negative. I can't say I know for a fact he didn't do it. It's really hard to do that.
Blames it all on
I can say it's
racism.
unlikely, but I can't ever be fully convinced. What I've found, though,
Right, he's
is
not
that
blaming
the
it all on
conversations
racism.
for the people who think
blaming
he's
the
guilty,
investigation
none of
on
them have
racism.
actually followed the case, which is why I made that tweet I did back in 2018. I am firmly convinced
I
there is
know,
not a
it's
single
tough.
person who
It's gonna be all right,
intimately
my guy.
followed the trial and knows the actual intricacies of the evidence and truly believes that O.J. Simpson is guilty. I don't think that exists. And I've asked and I've challenged for years, but I can show you tweets literally.
Listen,
back
he's
in
talking to you right
2018
now. Here's your
making the
chance, buddy.
statement,
Come in the
O.J.
waiting
Simpson
room.
wasn't, it wasn't like because he died and I'm suddenly hopping on this train. I've been talking about this for years, and to date, I've never encountered a person who actually is familiar with the evidence and the details. Those people are only convinced the way they are because they've consumed like short brainwave media, and their racism just allows them to come to those conclusions. I don't think we're the same, and I don't think you were saying that we were the same. Just putting that out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're a bunch of Gen Xers, bro. They don't really know too much shit. But in addition to what was taken from O.J. Simpson, there's also his
And to be clear, I don't think it's racist to think that OJ is guilty.
the father of the victim, Ron Goldman, or the guy was named.
It's all right, my guy. You don't have to listen to what he's saying. You could just pick out every third word and pretend you know what you're talking about. It's all good.
Simpson a lot of money, but
But he got that advance though. He got
Oh,
that
the advance?
823,000. And to be
Okay.
clear, he did not write that book. That book
Oh, really?
was entirely ghost written. If you look online, and you'll find almost every argument is always, I believe OJ did it because he wrote a book saying if he did it, so on and so forth. He didn't write that book. That book was written by a third party who was a ghostwriter who literally followed the trial and just wrote down a story based on the prosecution's argument. Like, if this is what the prosecution is stating was written, what's stating happened, I'm going to write a
There you
book
go,
from
Coke.
that
He's talking
angle.
right to you.
That's what that person did. O.J. Simpson simply attached his name, got advanced $823,000, did a really disgusting interview on that, and he called it blood money at the time. He said, yeah, everybody's just trying to make money off of the situation, and I needed to do that to secure my homestead. Those were his words, and so he went ahead and got in bed with those vultures, as he said. And that's why that book is there. He did not write that book.
Gotcha. News to me.
It's news to 95% of the internet. Everyone will swear. Look right now in the threads, and you'll see them saying that stuff. It's disgusting. Everyone's uninformed but opinionated.
Okay, so I didn't even think that.
Yeah, so like I just think people are uninformed on everything. And I don't think it's racist to be uninformed, but I can see Fanatiq saying that it might come off to racist to him, or as racist to him. But you know.
Would say like if he did it, he would have done it this way.
Super hard to understand nuance for.
And so since he didn't do it that way, since he didn't do that, that's why he was even on trial, and this is why like he didn't do it.
I mean, if they take,
You know what I'm saying?
if you take it at face value, like you'll come to the conclusion you just gave right now. But people are like, oh, he's just like a reverse psychology type situation. But it's like, oh, you don't have to do all that.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, it's like, for them, because of how smeared he was, thanks to that wench of a woman, Nancy Grace, he had the mentality that basically said,
blood does not like Nancy Grace.
He basically was so arrogant because he had already gotten away and he couldn't be charged that he wanted to confess what he did. And in fact, that's what the Goldmans added to the title. It's, if I did it, Confessions of a Killer, right? And so in that point, what people thought was, oh, this is a book that O.J. wrote in which he's confessed.
Bro's the very definition of pedantic. Hell yeah.
And that,
keep doing that coke, brother. It's serving you well.
I think it's gross.
Yeah. I never thought that book was an admission like that. That would be.
He didn't say he was involved in name only. He said he didn't write it. I know you're ultra desperate for the W right now, but keep aiming, my friend. You will find one eventually. Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Being the content of the book and like kind of giving that perspective, and the book is supposed to be spoken about in third person, and he kept,
yeah, I'm super glazed, my dude.
Like he's like saying, yeah, so hypothetically I would have such and such, and then he accidentally say, yeah, so I went and I did, and it's like, oh wait, you did do this, and so yeah, we're doing that. But you have to understand, I mean, the complexity of like telling a third party story that's supposed to be about yourself and then trying to tell that story in third party when it's you, like how frequently that would be a mind screw, obviously.
Right.
I think regardless of whether or not, I think there are lessons to be learned for everybody, regardless of what you think on the matter. I think one of the greatest lessons here is that a corrupt cop ruins an investigation, whether the person is innocent or guilty. If you have a cop who you find out is corrupt and they were looking into this thing because they were one-sided, or it truly, you have just given the defense the almighty, like, get out of jail free card. It is so easy to throw up the, and again, I'm not saying this means OJ was guilty or anything. I'm saying when we have cops whose we find out that they're racist, or we find out that they're hiding hidden bias, or these things actually destroy the investigations, and it leaves problems like this where now you have all these people in the middle who want to say that OJ did it or say that he didn't. They have all this evidence as to why he did or didn't, but when it comes to the whole racist cop thing, it's like, oh well, you just kind of have to interpret that as you will. Maybe you think that the cops are the ones who planted the evidence. Maybe you don't. Maybe you think that they were involved with some of the stuff. It truly just comes down to your opinion. But anybody, if you think he's guilty, then you should say, wow, that corrupt cop really screwed it up for everybody. He would have been in jail if not for that, if not for that corruption. Maybe there would have been more hard evidence if not for this guy trying to go in and plant extra evidence or destroy evidence, or, and then if you think he's innocent, then of course you're saying like, there's a racist cop. He's obviously trying to put an innocent man in jail. I think there's a big lesson to be learned here for at least just the investigations on the matter. In the early 90s, the police force was quite openly racist. There's no, this isn't like a secret or anything. Like, there was a crime bill for it. There's a lot of things going on in the 90s in the police. My father was a Phoenix police officer, and he himself said that they're the most corrupt police department he ever knew.
And yet, I'm sure you still have deniers to this day.
Well, deniers that there is corruption, sure, because people want
that
to.
the 90s
oh.
were as you're saying that they were. but
Oh
that we
yeah,
obviously
sure.
knew
Well,
that they
yeah,
were.
but that's the thing is like everybody wants to look at the OJ thing in a vacuum, and that's really stupid. You shouldn't look at it in a vacuum. The people who looked at it at the time weren't looking at it in a vacuum. You have to look at it with everything that's happening. There's a broader story to tell. Yeah, things were not great in the '90s when it comes to tension between the police and the African Americans, for sure.
Yeah, like obviously Rodney King obviously comes to mind. Like even NWA, as was portrayed in their movie, Straight Outta Compton. Like there was it, even
I never seen any of those movies.
had stuff like that going on. So it's just like it, the fact that all of these things exist, all of these songs were written, all of these movies were written, all of these shows and episodes were written, and by Black people from different cities across the country, and then to still have other people being like, nah, I don't really think that happens. Nah, I think you're making that up. It's like we just all had the same fever dream at the same time. Like, where do you think this is coming from?
Yeah,
That's one of the most effective forms of racism is denial. I want to point out, by the way, the team that
just to be clear, I don't think it's racism.
prosecuted the officers who beat Rodney King. The same office, same office. Like so, like it. I mean, I guess they're just failures as a whole. I guess in some people's mind, the fact that they couldn't get either one of them, because the Rodney King thing was literally obviously on trial. I think there was a failing by Marsha Clark. I think from the very beginning, she wanted to make this thing about domestic abuse. O.J. Simpson hadn't been with Nicole, and like they had been divorced, I want to say for about 3 years. She had expressed intent to want to get back with him at times. He had been seen with the family earlier that day, perfectly fine. Everything was totally cool. So I think the whole man, I've been divorced for 3 years. I still every now and then might slip by and have some relations with my ex-wife. She's still the mother of my children. Me and the family, we still have an ongoing relationship. Everything is totally fine. And now I'm just gonna murder her randomly one night because I'm jealous. Just doesn't make any freaking sense. And then the people who were under fire, Furman, I believe he later on went to jail for planting evidence, like unrelated to the O.J. Simpson case. So he was like, this is his MO. Not to mention they had the Ramparts division, I believe, and like that got like
Crazy for Coke. He's talking about
and
that
like,
thing I
all
talked
sorts
about.
of officers and things like that had gotten completely like departments.
gonna
And they
happen.
had consent decrees and all these things that got created because of the corruption within the LAPD. So the idea that it wasn't unfounded. I mean, this just helped to expose something that we all knew to be true, that the police in that area were corrupt. I'd say in most areas, but the police in that area were specifically corrupt. So I think it was a smart defense. Go ahead.
It's like Chappelle said in the skit, right? Furman was a church.
I went with Ford because schism. It must be crazy to hear every other word.
What's the guy? What was the bro?
It's all right, though. I respect you, Crazy for Coke. And I know that somewhere in there, you're probably between the ages of 16 and 21. You're probably an adult. And I respect and know that deep down, you're actually listening to this. And you know that what you're saying is a little bit silly. But we're online, so we're going to pretend like, we're going to do this whole elitist stupid crap. But it's okay. I know deep down there somewhere you're going like, dang, I should really think about this.
They lost. And this guy's like, it's unfortunate that they kind of went like that, and he just cut himself off and just ran to somebody's arms and started crying and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, I look kind of
I never saw that. I never saw that.
It wasn't a documentary, but yeah, it was. I don't know. I'm like, yeah, bro, you kind of doing a little bit much, but I'm not. I guess I shouldn't judge you too much. I guess, but still, like that bro really feel like I really feel like he was doing too much when he did all of that, bro. I'll link you with a timestamp next time when I it'll be easy for me to find it too. I'll timestamp it for you.
Yeah.
So
I don't know anything about it.
I noticed the title of the stream says Cosby. You had mentioned Cosby, but we're obviously mostly talking about OJ.
Fail.
As far as like, okay. Okay, I thought it was like we were kind of like saying all of this to like bring it full circle and be like Cosby.
That's funny.
But because I mean, you did mention other character assassinations like Jonathan Majors most recently, So I feel like you could put any of these names here, we'd be having a much similar discussion.
Johnny Depp is the most notable example, I feel like.
On that topic, I guess then wouldn't that also shift the conversation to Cat Williams? Because didn't he also talk about all of this and then say exactly what the formula was, how they're going to do it, and when they're going to do it to you, and how, when and why, and what you know, like what makes you the
Sure.
target for a character assassination?
Yeah. So I mean, well, here's I wouldn't want to talk specifically about Cat Williams, but I think in general, yeah. I mean, we can like that is a fact. Again, they did this to Jonathan Majors. Are doing this to Jonathan Majors. They did this to Bill Cosby. They're doing it to O.J. Simpson. They're doing
You
it to
mentioned
P.
Michael
Diddy,
And Johnny Depp.
Michael Jackson, and again,
Okay,
I
did that shit, though.
P. Diddy did what?
I said he might have did that shit though.
Did what?
All of the things. the,
I mean, possibly.
just list
I,
all the allegations. So we know. I feel like we all know the allegations.
I mean, but they're so widespread, right? Like, my lord, it's like 30-page documents talking about his allegations. Which of them are true? Or are you saying you think all of them are true? I have no idea. And I think the problem that I have with the P. Diddy situation, because he could be guilty. I have no idea. We'll have to wait until they start actually presenting evidence, or else I'll be stuck in the same situation where all these other morons are, where I'm defending or accusing a person like they're doing with O.J. Simpson, having no information about any of the evidence about anything to be able to prove the claims whatsoever. I can't have a
He's talking about you, Coke.
None of us know anything. We don't, right? And the same way these other morons are like, nah, O.J. Simpson is guilty and y'all are defending him because whatever, you're bad people. I don't know. So I don't know. All I know is I know he's been accused. I know now that the Supreme Court had to hear like a counterclaim by the defense, basically pointing out this man has been found guilty of intentionally framing his deposition and his lawsuits and all those things in the way to garner the most media attention. So it might not even be a real thing. It's just something to gather media attention. And if that's the case, why the freak are we even talking about it? I don't know. Right? Do I think he's probably guilty of some stuff? I think Diddy. I'll tell you what I think Diddy is guilty of. I think Diddy is guilty of that situation with Shine. It happened years and years and years ago, in which he was tried, and then of course for the shooting in that nightclub in which that person died, and Shine ended up doing all that years with the obvious conflict of interest. I'll give you that. We know that the lawyers representing Diddy were also representing Shine, and Diddy was the one paying them, so they had more of an obligation to defend Diddy. We know that. He's guilty of that. Do I know that he sex trafficked children? I have no way of knowing.
Okay, wait.
I don't have any proof.
That's true. I agree with you there. I'm not. When I said, yeah, he probably did that shit, what I meant is that there are so many things being said that it can't be that every single person is just talking shit. But based on what you're saying, that like, okay, we don't know because there hasn't been a trial with the facts presented. By that same token, and I mean, this man is half black, love him or hate him, does that mean that you feel like you don't have an opinion on whether or not Andrew Tate is guilty?
Oh, sure.
I feel like people feel.
I know, my dude. People who say, let's wait for the evidence are total fence sitters. It's so fence sitting to say, let me wait until the evidence comes out and then I'll make a decision. It's actually also fence sitting to say, I've looked at the evidence and this is my decision on the matter. You're absolutely right. I forgot. I appreciate I've definitely learned something today. Okay, well then the question is really simple. What's the evidence that OJ did it? Do you have anything other than circumstantial? Oh, the Cosby stuff. Perfect. So then where's the evidence for the Cosby stuff? You seem to be so familiar with all of these trials. You seem to be someone who's looked into literally any of them. He mentioned multiple people. Okay, well, surely because you're so confident on the matter, you have evidence for literally any of these people, right? I mean, you're so confident that Fanatiq is just calling racism on everything without even looking at the facts. Surely you have the facts that you know he's looking at and just calling racism on without looking at, right? You have anything? Let's wait.
Andrew Tate is just a character. He does this stuff for entertainment. These were leaked DMs. This wasn't so I mean, he must have been in character in his private messages that he didn't expect to be disclosed. I don't think so. That's why I feel the way I feel about Andrew Tate. I think there's good evidence to suggest it. We should always have good evidence. Now find me something similar for P. Diddy. It doesn't exist yet. I'm not saying the man's innocent. I don't know. When I get the evidence, I'll come to a conclusion. Without it, I'm not going to speculate. For what?
Those tapes are on the way, seem like, from what I'm hearing at least.
And when we get them, then I will jump on the bandwagon and say this nigga P. Diddy is guilty. Until then, I have nothing. I can't come to any conclusions, and neither should anyone else.
Yeah.
Nice. So you have actually nothing. You're just kind of opening up the old butthole and just kind of shouting things that you've heard from other people or probably from TikTok pages. No, I got you. That's I should really consider what it is you're saying right now.
Poses the question on the front page, says, is P. Diddy worse than Epstein?
You just have to provide one bit of evidence, right? Like just one bit. Yeah, you got nothing. Jeez. How about it, everybody? Look, the entire point of this panel is that people like you exist. People who, they don't actually know anything about the trial. They don't have any evidence, but they've seen a few TikToks or maybe YouTube channels about their favorite guy talking about it. And they're so confident one way, but they don't actually have any information. That's what the entire panel is about, is people like you. And you kind of stumbled into the entire panel, which is kind of funny and ironic.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So like people need to, like the media especially.
But I don't think you're irredeemable, by the way, Crazy for Coke. You seem to have at least a little bit going on in your brain. I would just ask you to use it. But I know that right now you're probably really steamed, maybe a little bit hot. You're kind of thinking, man, I got to get him right now. I got to find something. You're kind of desperately looking for something, and that's okay. But there's this saying out here, if you aim for failure, you're always going to achieve it. Why not instead just focus on learning something here and furthering your knowledge instead of trying to make me look like an idiot and in the process making yourself look like one? Don't you think there's a better way? Haven't you like been to school?
Don't make me, bro.
You're good. It's just that I think that we do this all the freaking time. No one was going around saying no Fogel. No one was going around saying no Epstein. No one was going around saying no Spacey. No one was going around, like, all of these cases. We got the Roman Polanskis. We got the Spaceys. We got the freaking what's that? Woody Allen. We got all of these different cases, right? Elvis Presley. All these white cases of all these sick people doing all these sick things with obvious evidence, some of them having pled guilty and fled the freaking country. But what we're going to focus on is P. Diddy. We always going to try to bring this back to black folks. I'm not.
No, I like I've already said, I think you're plenty redeemable. I think you're using your brain. I just think right now you're kind of trying to use it to attack me, and you just don't know anything about the case. Why not just learn about the case instead of claiming you know about the case, and then when I prove you know nothing about the case, you go, well, you're just bullying me. All right, my dude. We're online, but I'd like to think that you're at least somewhere near an adult. Surely you're capable of a conversation where we both disagree, yeah?
So, like, but this being out now doesn't, like,
Yeah, see, like, you're just typing the things that I say and then laughing, spamming LOL. Like, clearly you are trying to kind of paint this broader picture that you think I'm an idiot, and that's fine. But you're the one in my chat talking to me right now, so I think that while you're here, you'd want to learn, maybe explore some topics, but instead your goal is to just kind of listen to every third word that I or Fanatiq says and then talk about how we're blaming everything on racism. So it's kind of upset.
Prosecuted. It's up to the prosecutor. They can choose to do it.
Yeah, sure. I asked you many times for even one piece of evidence on any of these people, and you don't have it because you don't know anything about these cases. You could say that I haven't proved anything. You might be absolutely right on that, my dude. But the thing is, in your brain, you know that you don't know anything, and in my brain, I know that you don't know anything. So you're just trying to kind of stay in that ambiguity of, oh, well, the other people watching might not know. All right, my dude. Whatever works for you, man. This stream is kind of about, like, increasing your knowledge, and I know it's a very abrasive process for some. But I think you are capable of it. You seem like a intelligent person. Somewhere in there, you have what it takes. You just got to break this whole ego thing.
And then we sometime that like years later.
Oh yeah, low viewership. Yeah, I know I have 4 people, my dude. It's okay. You should check out my YouTube. It's got 1 people. It's pretty sick. Sometimes I have 0 people. But right now I have 1 person. It's you who's sitting here talking to me. So, thanks, my dude.
Like
Soul.
dies in numbers. Soul, yeah, and
Oh,
other similar movies. Yeah,
but
that
so
is
they're
a
still
thing
doing
to
it.
be looked into. Yeah.
That's crazy. See, I don't mess
Uh,
with Disney, bro. Like I said, that Jonathan Majors thing like really pissed me off. So I mean, not to say I'm not gonna watch Marvel movies anymore. I'm just gonna be bootlegging. That's all. You can hear me say that.
Hey, that's how I feel about what's his face's movies. Quentin Tarantino.
Really?
I'm
Really?
literally never watching another one of his movies in theater.
Wait, what
Yeah,
did
that
he
shit's pretty
do?
crazy.
Oh,
No.
that's another conversation for another day. I'll link you guys in
Oh
private. It's the
no.
most absurd, disgusting thing you'll ever see. It'll blow your freaking mind. It'll blow your freaking mind.
Creepy. Oh.
Nah, bro, it's disgusting. I will never watch another one of his movies in theater.
Yeah, Hollywood has no standards.
so.
They have less than standards, and that's
Like,
why
some of
it's
my
funny.
favorite movies.
That's why it's funny when you see these comedians and they want to talk about OJ, or you see people in Hollywood, they want to make jokes about OJ. It's funny because the case itself doesn't matter. You have this weird cult of personality that's so obsessed with telling us how we should live our lives and what we're doing wrong and how we should be voting on things and what jury should come to what conclusions. And honestly, all these people, like, I would love to tell them where to stick it. I hate them all so much with such a burning passion.
Yeah.
Hollywood, not
How
LA.
familiar are you guys with the with Roman Polanski?
Yeah, that one's
I just know
wild.
the name.
You just know the name, right?
I need a refresher.
Okay. What if
Shit
I
is
told you he
wild.
was a director that got like literally convicted for like molesting a child? I think he was a 13-year-old at the time, and then he fled the country so that.
Yeah, when I said, can you provide one piece of evidence, what I said is, can you lay out 11 months of trial evidence in a Twitch comment to explain how OJ and others in other trials have committed the crimes they're accused of? That's what I said when I said, can you find one piece of evidence about one single person? Raffle.
That sounds real.
It sounds like America. This is America.
It sounds like America.
Come on, my dude. I'm appealing to your higher senses here. It's okay to say, you're right. I didn't know anything about it. Let's talk a little bit about it. It's just one Google search away, and then you have all this information, and then we can discuss. But you're you want to have your cake and eat it too here. You want to be right, but also not look up the information, and it's kind of very much showing. Oh my God, One Piece? Hell yeah, I'm a huge One Piece fan.
With America. It's like,
Yeah.
that is America because that's what happens for people like him and not.
There you go. These are some pieces of evidence. Hell yeah. These are things we can discuss.
Out there touching on children. I mean, statistics have shown that the vast majority of those.
Yeah, I know. I asked you several times to Google it, and you finally did. Now you have a little bit of evidence, and we can talk about those things. If you've been listening to this podcast, and you'd hear Fanatiq addressed all 3 of those things that you just said, but you're looking for the W's.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be there in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just kind of wanted. I never really got a chance to answer the question about
How did I hear it then? Because I'm
About,
also muting them.
I guess
So
the attitudes
strange
of
how
the-
I was
the
able to hear
question
it
that,
despite also
Zerk
muting
asked
them.
About
But you weren't.
come on, Brand, you can do it.
Makes you think.
About like the people's feelings towards OJ Simpson and stuff like that throughout time, and it's more or less kind of what I kind of discussed regarding with my question and how these political figures just kind of jump straight to criminalize and say, oh yeah, he definitely did that, or like how could black people like celebrate this man throughout after what he did? So
Whatever you
that,
want, my dude. You can
after
just
he did
say I
so
didn't know
stupid.
anything about the
And
case.
it's
You
like,
don't have
I
to
mean,
make
in
this
this very
broad,
brief
big
conversation,
thing about how
Fanatiq,
now I think I'm better than you because I said I
pretty
know
sure
stuff
we're
about
around
the
the
case.
same age, and you
don't.
yourself admitted
I'm
that
sorry if you feel like
you
that's
wasn't really
elitism.
paying attention to
I can
like what was
respect that,
happening at the time of it, at the time of it being shown on TV.
What up,
You know what I'm
Zobia?
saying? I'm the exact
You
same
should talk
way.
to
I
this
was, I
person.
don't know, what was it?
They think OJ's
95?
guilty and they don't have any evidence.
I wasn't even a teenager yet. I don't know. I was like, what, 7, 8, 9, 10, I don't know, what, something like that. But it's like, even with like this is just
I'm not
brief
assuming I'm
conversation,
better.
you
I'm
kinda-
just
you pretty
assuming
much
I
shut it
know
all,
about the
like,
case.
Firstly, you shut it all down.
you think that's better,
I
then
know
that's
you're
on you,
kinda,
my
I know
dude.
you guys said that, and you shouldn't be leaning too far in one direction. But like
I
I
don't
said,
think
I watched what
I don't measure
watched,
people's
and-
success by how
and,
well they know the
like,
OJ
only thing that
Simpson
was
case.
convincing for me was, like I said, that DNA evidence, and I'm just saying, like, I cannot, in my opinion, I don't see how it's how the contrary can be I get okay. Let me just be fair. I mean, let me just be more. I don't know. Good faith in this. Just to say that I don't see how it could be overly convincing of him being guilty. And I think anybody that is like aggressively
There you go. Talk to him.
putting him
Sophia
down
will actually talk to
or
you.
calling for him to be reprimanded by society. I don't think they were being like good faith in this. So like I just kind of feel like that these people are doing like OJ Simpson especially a disservice by using their voice, by using by using their voice, their popular voices to pass along this hatred, this vitriol towards a potentially innocent man. You know what I'm saying? At the very least, I would say leave some room for interpretation for people. Maybe do like an episode or have a long discussion, maybe even a debate regarding that. Something similar to what we're doing right here, where we have some opposing voices. They can speak on the case that actually paid a lot of attention to it.
Well, sure. I reached out to Vosh. We had a small little back and forth on Twitter DM. Told him I want to talk to him about that. We'll see how that goes. Also, I've reached out to some other folks about it as well. What you'll find is that for most people, and I understand it, there's not a strong interest in having conversations about these subjects because you don't have. If I'm only talking to people that already agree with me, right, and people already look at me as the authority, then I just win, right, by just go ahead and sharing these things. It's only when my ideas are contested that I get to be kind of that now I can be revealed to be a sham or fake. And I think most of these people don't want to have a conversation on it because they know that they're uninformed. You know nothing about the case.
Was it your hope that when you told us to research it going into this, that you wanted us to come up with things to disagree with you?
No, not necessarily. I just wanted like a pretty in-depth conversation from multiple perspectives about some of the specifics of the thing, but it seems like nobody else really did pretty in-depth research, which is...
I've talked a lot of shit about you, Cope, but that sentence right there was actually very well structured.
I told this to Pons before the stream started,
and
I guess I hadn't said it on stream or to you. It's not that I was being lazy or whatever. It's that, well, I guess I kind of did allude to it on this stream. The reason I didn't go into it was because I already said how I didn't feel like that was the real point. I felt like the point was, what can we do going forward? Like, this guy, it's been over for 30 years. The guy's dead. Like, I didn't
fucking
see the
owned
point
him,
of like
Great
going
job.
into the details of a trial that's already done.
I'm sorry,
and the
Crazy,
person who's not even here, when we could be talking about, okay, now that that's happened, how do we go forward and try to frame people's perspectives differently so that it doesn't happen to Jonathan Majors, so that it doesn't happen to the next person who's not out yet.
But the veracity of his guilt or whatever probably matters.
Don't stretch that shit to me. Zophia's his own person. Zophia's a fucking adult.
Then we
he doesn't
probably
need
should want this
me
to
or my
any
approval.
person who's guilty.
He's not a viewer of my stream. He's a visitor.
Like murdering two white folk.
We're part of the same vibe. To you, I can imagine it does feel that way. Yes.
So then they did nothing wrong. That like is
enjoy your circle
to
jerk.
the
Thanks, my
conversation,
dude. Me and Zovia, we agree about
like
everything. Oh my god, we're known for just agreeing about everything.
For somebody who is innocent to be like, oh, that's what you said about OJ.
I guess we're circle jerking,
Zovia. So now this guy is guilty too.
Wait, but no, those two things don't have to have any bearing on one another. If OJ Simpson is guilty, doesn't mean Jonathan Majors is guilty. How are those things related?
Never mind that 6-month period that we didn't talk to each other.
This is me imagining that's what people would say to you or I in the situation.
They would say,
I agree.
OJ is guilty, so therefore Jonathan Majors guilty?
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
That's crazy. I would just immediately dismiss that as retarded. I can't contend with something that's stupid.
What if they're the ones that have the power in the situation? You can't dismiss it if they have the power to like say.
I thought Zovia would type something out. I didn't expect him to just tell you you were
jurors,
racist.
Basically saying because OJ Simpson is guilty.
I will take the L on that one. I thought Zovia would.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. When I asked like, what are we talking about this for, and you were like, for the future. So that's what I'm saying. Like it's great that he's innocent. Because now we can point to when things are looking bad.
I thought you would at least argue with him. I didn't think you were just going to be like, nah, you're coping.
Let's keep that in mind.
Like, I thought you'd at least
immediately crucifying. But then if he were guilty, then if we're trying to give somebody the benefit of the doubt.
Why does it have to be an excuse? Do you listen to your language, my dude? You can't even possibly consider the fact that racism might be a reason or might be a cause or might just be a factor that isn't a cause or a reason. Every single time the word racism comes up, it has to be an excuse. Do you think that that's a problem with my language or with yours? Just think about that for a second.
I think any person saying that because of the fact that I was cautious before I was willing.
I don't agree with Zovia that you're racist for thinking that he's guilty. But those people exist, my dude. Like, you probably go to public school, right? Like, people exist that don't like you. Why are you so bothered about it when you get on Twitch? It's okay. Zovia and I, we disagree on fucking everything. We argue about everything. We have had more disagreements than anyone on this entire platform, to the point where we haven't even talked to each other for months at a time. And Zovia still comes in and we talk. It's okay. It's all right to disagree. He calls me racist. He thinks I'm racist. He's not calling me racist to make me feel bad. He's calling me racist because he thinks that I'm racist. He's not trying to make me feel stupid or trying to white guilt me or trying to make up words to bash me. It's what he actually fucking thinks. But
depends on their leverage, unfortunately. If they actually have like a voice, then you probably got to dumb down your logic and your reasoning to be able to reach them to change their opinion.
No.
Yeah.
No, you